Hi everyone, this is Miss Quinones, and I'm really excited to share with you guys our lesson for today. Today we're going to learn about Frida Kahlo, a really famous Mexican painter. And I know that a lot of us already know about Frida Kahlo and have learned about her, but I want to make sure that we remember everything that we've already learned and know why she was such an amazing artist and a role model. So Frida Kahlo was, of course, a painter. This is a picture of her here. Her dad actually took this picture. He was a photographer, and so that's why we have so many pictures of Frida because her dad took them all. So this here is Frida. You can see she likes to dress very traditionally. She's from Mexico, so she wears a lot of traditional Mexican clothes. So you can see she's got the flower crown on her head, she's got big jewelry, and even her clothes is very, very traditional. And not a lot of people wore this kind of stuff when she was around. So this definitely made her stand out. And so now let's learn about her life. Okay, guys. So Frida Kahlo was born in 1907. 1907 was a really long time ago. It's about 113 years ago. So if she was alive today, she would be 113 years old, which is kind of crazy. She was from Mexico, which is, of course, is a different country. So she's not from the United States. And she was actually born to a German dad and her mom was from a place called Oaxaca. Oaxaca is one of the states in Mexico, so her mom is Mexican, but her dad came over from Germany when he was young, and then he met her mom, and they decided to get married and start a family. So you can see this is Frida when she was young. I'm not sure how old she is in this picture, but her dad did take this picture because remember, he's a photographer. And this is a picture of her and her siblings. So this girl on the right is Frida, and then the rest of the people are just her siblings. They're her sisters. Frida, when she was little, she actually didn't think that she was going to become a painter. She wanted to become a doctor, all the way up until she was 18 years old. So basically, until she was an adult, she thought, I'm going to go to school to become a doctor. But that changed very quickly when something happened to her when she was 18. We're going to talk about that in just a little bit, but before we move on, I want to talk about this picture here and this one. So in these two pictures, you can see something called La Casa Azul. Can we say La Casa Azul all together? Ready? One, two, three. La Casa Azul. Good job, scholars. So La Casa Azul is a museum where you can see a lot of Frida Kahlo's artwork. And the reason that it's in this blue, bright building is because this was actually her house. This was her home where she grew up. And then later, when she became an adult, she actually lived in this house still. So this was her home. She loved being in Mexico. She loved being in this house. So it is very, very fitting that all of her works are in this house. Another really cool thing about La Casa Azul is that you can actually visit this museum. So La Casa Azul, because it's a museum, you can actually go to it and you can take a tour. So you can see where Frida's bedroom was, you can see where her whole house was, you can see like the design, you can see her artworks. So really, really cool opportunity if you ever get the chance to go. So when Frida was 18 years old, it was the year 1925. And in 1925, she was 18 and going home from school. And just like you and I see buses around the dry people places, she would take the bus to school. And so she was getting on the bus to go home with one of her friends. And then the bus that she was in and like a streetcar or a trolley, they were going in the same direction and they hit one another. So this was really, really bad for Frida because she got very hurt from this. She got so hurt that she couldn't walk for 3 whole months. That's pretty crazy not to be able to walk for that long. So When this happened, she couldn't walk, she couldn't get out of bed. The bus accident really messed up her spine and her back, plus a lot of the insides of her body. So she was required, she had to stay in bed for these 3 months. She couldn't move, she couldn't get up, she needed help to do everything. And what ended up happening was her father didn't want her to just waste her days laying in bed. So he decided to make her something called an easel. Can we say the word easel? Good job, scholars. So, an easel, usually when people use an easel, it looks like this. This easel is standing up. You can see the legs are on the ground, and somebody usually sits in front of it or they stand in front of it so that they can paint their artwork. Frida, Frida's dad made a special easel that would let her paint in bed. So you can see this easel right here. You can see Frida laying down in bed right here. You can see that she's very hurt. She's got bandages and casts all over her. And her dad made her this easel that stands up. So right here, this V is like the legs of the easel. And then this up here is the back of it. You can see that the easel has this big white spot that she's touching, and she's touching that spot because that's where she's going to paint. That is her canvas. And then she really got into painting. She loved painting. She spent all her days doing all sorts of paintings. And by the time she finished, she decided that she didn't want to be a doctor anymore. She was only 18 years old and she was just painting so much and fell in love with it so much that she decided, I don't want to be a doctor. I want to be a painter. And so now we're going to learn a little bit about Frida's life when she became a painter and grew up just a little bit more. So Frida decided to become a painter when she was 18 years old. And then later, when she was trying to become um, or was trying to get her work all out for people to see, she ended up marrying somebody named Diego Rivera. We might remember Diego Rivera from last year, but he was already a very famous painter and muralist. So Diego Rivera married Frida in 1929. So in 1929, Frida was only 22 years old. She wasn't that old yet, but Diego was a lot older than her. Diego was about 42 years old. He was about 20 years older than Frida, and they actually had a lot of differences about them. So they had this big age gap. That's one difference, and they looked really different from one another. Frida was a very petite woman, and she liked to dress very loud. And Diego was a very big and tall man. So she was kind of petite and short, like Miss Quinones. You can kind of imagine Frida being a very small woman, and Diego was very tall. You can see how big of a difference it is in this painting that she made of them. And since they were both painters, she also added these paintbrushes. So they were in love, they connected with each other, even though they looked so different. So both Frida and Diego became very, very famous in Mexico and in the United States. They had lots of art shows both here and in Mexico, and they just grew and grew and grew. People were going crazy for their artwork. But we have to know that during this whole time, Frida was still not completely healthy. So because the bus accident messed up with her bones and her organs so much, she spent a lot of time in the hospital. So this is just because hospitals back then, like 100 years ago, the medicine and the hospitals and everything was just not as good as it is today. So we are super lucky to have amazing hospitals, but because Frida didn't have the same opportunities as us, unfortunately, that means that she was in and out of the hospital like a lot. So you can see in this picture down below, she has to lay in bed again because she's not feeling well. Her health is not where it needs to be. And so she's able to lay in bed and still use this special easel to help her paint. You can also see that Diego is right by her side. I believe he's holding the paints for her. And this was the awesome thing about Frida is that she never stopped working. All the way until she passed away, she was such a hard worker, and I think it is so cool that even when she didn't feel good, even when things didn't go her way and she had to keep like pushing hard, she never ever stopped. So we never want to forget Frida and how hardworking she is. She's an awesome role model, and it's just so cool to see such an amazing young lady work so hard for all the things that she earned. Okay, scholars, so now it is your turn. In either Flipgrid or in Google Classroom, I want you to tell me something that surprised you about Frida. I don't want you to tell me your favorite thing. I don't want you to tell me what you remember. I want you to tell me something that shocked you, that surprised you when you heard it. So you can use this sentence to help you out. You can say, something that surprised me about Frida was, hmm. So, scholars, now when you return things, remember you can return them in Flipgrid or in Google Classroom. Just pick one to return things. And then this is our Flipgrid code for second grade. It's Quiñones 1450. And for third grade, Quiñones 8124. Remember that if you want to log into Flipgrid, you have to go to flipgrid.com and then put in the code. So if you're in second grade, you put in this code right here. And if you're in third grade, you put in this code. After you put in the code, you just join with your school email, and then you will be set to go. Remember, this is just for Flipgrid. So if you want to keep using Google Classroom, you don't have to do this extra step. Google Classroom is an okay way to turn things in, so you pick. You can pick Flipgrid or you can pick Google Classroom. That's it for us today, scholars. I'm really excited to see everyone's responses, and I hope you had a really fun time. Bye.